Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jessica Chill, and today I'm going to be telling y'all about the time that I got a DUI. I was about 26 years old and I was living in Mississippi at the time, and I had a really bad habit of drinking, getting extremely plastered because I was an alcoholic, and driving around. That was just what I liked to do, which was really stupid. So one night, it was about March, and some friends of mine decided to have a birthday party for some other friends. We used to always hang out at this place called the G Spot, which was actually a shed in my friend's backyard that we just turned into a party house. We'd play beer pong, have cake parties, and do all kinds of stuff. Football game, all of that good crap. Which I have a lot of really good stories from that time in my life, but this particular night, I actually ended up in jail. So I'm going to tell y'all about that. When I first got there to my friend's house, I don't think he cares if I use his real name. His real name is Curtis. But when I first got there, I gave him my keys because, like I said, I had a bad habit of driving around. And a few months prior to that, for my birthday, I went to a club with a bunch of friends, and I was supposed to have a designated driver that night. But one of my friends ended up passing out in this truck, and my designated driver talked the really drunk me into driving him home. And on the way home, I kind of swerved in front of a cop on the interstate, got pulled over, and went to jail. I didn't get a DUI that night. They let me off easy. I was really freaking lucky. But because of that, I kind of stopped drinking and driving for a while. Well, the night that I actually got my DUI, first got there, I gave Curtis my keys. And I told him to hide them from me because I will find them and I will drive. I know myself. So he was supposedly hid them really good. I wasn't the one that found them. It wasn't my idea to drive. I just kind of went with the flow. But we had several kegs that night, and we had a huge ice chest full of what's called wolf juice or jungle juice. And needless to say, about 20 keg stands later and big gulps this big of wolf juice later, some friends of mine came to me, mutual friends, but I don't know, oh my god, this is terrible. Some friends came to me wanting to hook up, and they wanted to go back to my house. Yeah, I was that chick, driving people to my house so they could hook up. But whatever. So I told them that I couldn't drive them because I didn't have my keys. Curtis had took my keys and hid them from me, so if they wanted to go anywhere, they had to find my keys. Well, I don't know how long time had passed, but eventually they brought me my keys and we're like, we've got your keys, we can go now, let's go to your house. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So we pile up. I didn't even tell anybody bye, I don't think. I just piled up in my car, and them two were in the back seat making out the whole time. My drunk happy ass with my big gulp of wolf juice. We start heading to the other side of the county to my house, because my house was like freaking 15, 20 miles away, if not longer. So we drive through town, and I do fine. I was not swerving, I don't think. I didn't get pulled over. In my mind, I did fine driving till I got to this blinking red light on the highway, and some friends pull up in a truck beside me that were at the same party that I was at and start revving up the motor. And I'm in a little Dodge Stratus, and it only had one headlight because I had hit a deer. Yeah, like before that, my little Dodge Stratus, and they're in a big truck, and they're yelling out the window to me, let's race. So yes, that sounds like a great idea. Let's race. So we rev up our motors, and the light just blinks. It didn't turn red or green. It's a blinking red light. But we were like, one of them yelled go. So we took off, and we made a left and went down the highway. Well, a few minutes later, a cop comes up behind us, and they keep going straight on the highway, but I turned off a side road. Well, the cop ended up following me, and he pulls me over, the two in the back seat are still making out the whole freaking time. And the cop walks up to the door. He's like, ma'am, you know why I pulled you over? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was racing. And he's like, have you been drinking? I was like, how'd you guess? I feel so stupid. But anyways, the cop was like, can you get out of the car, please? So I get out of the car with my big gulp cup of wolf juice and my phone and my cigarettes. And I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, talking to the cop. And he was like, where are you coming from? And I was like, I'm coming from a keg party. It's like, I'm going home. Like, I just live I literally was only like 2 miles from my house at that point. And let me rewind. So the cop asked me to get out of the car. And I get out of the car with my big gulp cup of wolf juice, my phone, and my cigarettes. When I get out, I like kick my door shut. All drunk, kick my door shut. And the cop starts laughing, and he's like, where did you come from? Where are you coming from? And I was like, I'm coming from a party. And he was like, where are you going? Home? I just live like a couple miles down the road. And he was like, have you been drinking? I was like, how'd you guess? And he started laughing. He's like, you're such a trip. I hate to take you to jail. I was like, then don't take me to jail. I live right down the road. You can just take me to my house. And I won't drive anymore tonight, I promise. He was like, well, I already called it in, so I have to take you to jail. Okay, well, if you must. He let me finish my drink on the side of the road, sitting there talking to me. And I swear we sat there like 30 minutes with just talking, because he was a cool cop, but, he took me to jail, which that was his job, but he was still cool. And he was like, what about the two in the back seat? I was like, they haven't been drinking, I don't think. I don't know. And I told him, I was like, I'm taking them to my house so they could hook up. Like, I just told him everything. Probably too much. But he was like, okay, well, you finished your drink. I got to put you in the car now. He puts the handcuffs in the front of me, and I still have my phone and my cigarettes. He puts me in the car. People were calling me. Well, while he was talking to me on the side of the road, people kept calling, asking me where I was. And I was like, I got pulled over. I think I'm going to jail. Like, I need y'all to come get me. Several people called me. I told them all. They were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm sitting here talking to a cop. And they were like, you're talking to a cop? Yeah. There was no shame in my game at that time in my life. So, I know this sounds really confusing. Like I said, I'm rusty. I haven't made a video in a while. So, excuse me if I'm just blabbering. Oh, you see my kitty cat right there? Yeah, that's Chili. But anyways, back to the story. So he puts me in the cop car, and the whole time people were calling me. And I finally got somebody that would meet the people that were in my back seat so they could get my wallet, so they go get money out of the bank and come bail me out. But I get to the police station before they could bail me out. I get to the police station, and the cops are like, you have to do a breathalyzer test. All right, I could do that. So they sit me down in this room with the little machine, and they're like, on the count of 3, blow into the thing. And I'm like, all right. So they're like, 1, 2, and on 3, I blow. And they're like, no, after 3. I'm like, okay. So 1, 2, 3, and like on 3, I blew. And they're like, no, not yet. Like, count 1, 2, 3, and then blow. I probably did that like 6 times before I finally got it right, and they were probably really aggravated with me by then, but they were laughing. They were being good sports about it. But I blew a 2.9 on that, so I was probably really drunk, and it was a bad idea. Such a bad idea. I made terrible decisions back then. Glad I don't make terrible decisions anymore like that. I still make terrible decisions, just not on that grand a scale. But anyways, they end up putting me in. They're like, all right, well, we got to put you in a cell now until somebody comes to get you. And I was like, you don't have to do that, because people are on their way to get me now. And they're like, well, until we don't know how long it's going to take them, so we still have to put you in a cell. So they take me and put me in a cell with these girls, and it was dark in there, and they were all asleep. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by that time. So they opened the door, And all these girls are asleep on these cots. And I'm just going there and I'm like, what's up, bitches? Just being my drunk self. And the girls, they all said it. They started laughing. They were like, hey, where'd you come? I knew almost all of them. And they were like, where'd you come from? And I was like, oh, I went to a party and so and so. And so they're asking me who's there, what all we did, what we were drinking, why I'm in jail. Like, I was only in there literally 5 minutes. For they opened this door and they're like, Miss Case, because my last name was Case at the time. They're like, Miss Case, your ride's here. I'm like, all right, peace, y'all. So I left them laughing. I made their night, I'm pretty sure. But whenever I walk out the cell, the guy that came to bail me out was in handcuffs. And he, as he walked by, he just kind of handed me the money to, like, we made a switch off. I'm in my cuffs and he's in his cuffs, and we just kind of switch off the money. And he went to jail. It was the guy that I was racing, actually. But, I mean, they didn't know he was racing. That's not why he went to jail. He went to jail because he had several warrants for his arrest, and he pulled up in a cop parking lot drunk. I mean, I appreciate him getting me out of jail, but at the same time, serves his ass right, because when I went to jail the few months prior to that, it was his cousin that I'd been driving, and he drove to Louisiana and got his cousin out of jail, but he left me there. So, payback's kind of a bitch. That dude ended up doing like 3 months in jail when he came to bail me out. So yeah, karma's a really big bitch, but it's whatever. But he so he gives me the money, I bail myself out, and I go home. And after that, I ended up going to court, and they put me on probation, like 6 months probation, suspended my license, and said I had to pay fines, like $3,000 in fines to get my license back, which really sucked. But the cool part was my probation officer actually turned out to be one of my dad's old football coaches. So I only met with him once. I was supposed to check in like every month, but he never like forced that, and I only met with him once. And I actually ended up moving to Louisiana like a month or so later, and never ever talked to him again. He didn't put out a warrant for my arrest, he just let it go, I guess. And I went like 3 years without my license, which really sucked too. And then I paid $3,000 for my then I went like 3 years without my license, and finally, after 3 years, I paid $3,000 and got my license back. And needless to say, I don't drink and drive anymore. Drinking and driving's pretty bad. Drinking and driving is a pretty bad idea, if you ask me. No matter how much you've drank, you should always have a designated driver. And don't let your sober friends talk you into dumb shit when you're drunk, because it doesn't pay off. And yeah, so I know this was like gibberish, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself because, well, I'm just going to blame it on the pain pills that I'm having to take because of my surgery. We'll just stick with that, okay? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, I understand. I'll get better again eventually. But I do want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. I've got up to like over 300 subscribers now. I'm rolling big. Yay. Oh my gosh. So anyways, I love you guys. And until next time, peace.